it is 2025 now, which means New Year's Eve has just passed, in that Christmas period where there's a lot of celebrations and there's big sort of things going on. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about spending my first couple of New Year's Eves and Christmases in Brisbane and how it's different to Sydney. Of course, I guess the main sort of differences are I'm not spending time with my immediate family and my friends, but also the celebrations are a little bit different, I've noticed, between the two cities. So we'll start with Christmas, I guess. In terms of Christmas, I think both cities are quite similar. Every kind of big city, so Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, in Australia, tend to have like a massive Christmas tree in the city, and then they've got like a nice building that's got lights on it and all these sorts of little Christmassy events around the city. In terms of Sydney, I don't think I remember too many actual like events other than like shopping malls doing little kind of things like having Santa walking around, all of that, but not really community sort of events, I'd say. In Brisbane, I think it is a little bit different. They've got Christmas markets in South Bank. I know that they have, I think, like lights and things that kind of look like Vivid. Also in South Bank, they've got free outdoor movie cinemas. They've got, we've got like photos with Santa, and I know last year that used to be, or 2023, sorry, that used to be free, but I think now you do have to pay for it. There are different sort of shopping centres and I think chemists that do offer photos with Santa for free. So that's probably one of the biggest differences between Sydney and Brisbane. It seems like in Sydney, for all of those extra little events and activities, you do have to pay for it, whereas in Brisbane sometimes, if you're lucky, it is still free. I think the bigger sort of part of these celebrations is probably New Year's, and that's where you can see the biggest sorts of differences. Now, in terms of context, when I was living in Sydney, so for the past maybe 4 or 5 years after I left high school and like I was old enough to go out myself, I did often go to the city and celebrate with my friends, and we'd often try to go and see the Sydney fireworks. In order to see the fireworks in Sydney, it is quite I don't know, it's kind of like lining up for tickets for Drake. It's highly competitive, and if you're not willing to pay for tickets, which can be quite expensive, like I think the cheapest paid ticket is probably 150 or 200 for an adult. So if you're not willing to pay, you do have to kind of get there super early. I know it's always on the news before New Year's Eve that people are lining up, people are camping out. They've got their skis full of food to last them 3 days, and their tents to sleep the night. So it's pretty competitive if you did want a nice view of the Harbour Bridge and the Opera House and that perfect sort of framing. But if you're not too fussed, my friends and I have always kind of gone late or gone on the night, just walked around, seen where's free and snuck in and got a decent sort of view. There's always people around in Sydney, like volunteers, or I don't know if they're paid, but they basically tell you which areas are still available and which aren't, because in Sydney there's so many people that they kind of just block off areas if there's too many people. They fence it off and you can't get in. I think with Sydney as well, getting home, and I'm sure this is the same with any big city, getting home is like hell, you know. Like the public transport, I just remember it felt like we were locked in like sardines. We were all little ants trying to walk into the train, and even at the train stations they like put fences and they blocked you off and then they let you through, and then they blocked you off and they let you through, and you end up leaving the city at midnight, but you get home 2 hours later. And we didn't live too far from the city either. So that's something to probably consider too. I think one of my tips was always the fireworks take maybe 15 minutes to finish. So if you're kind of ready to go before then, once it hits that like 14-minute mark, just leg it, and then you have a bit of a head start on everyone else. In terms of the Brisbane fireworks, I'm actually not too sure because I haven't been able to see it, and I will talk a little bit about that soon. But I know that it does seem like a bit more of a community feel. All of the public outdoor areas, I believe, are free. So you don't have to pay to sit on a grassy knoll, even though it faces the harbour bridge, like in Sydney. So it's just getting in as fast as you can and getting a spot. The other thing is they also seem to have a lot of markets as well. Markets are a big thing in Brisbane, and they've got food stores. It just feels a bit more, I guess, community-ish or like a fete, like a school fete, rather than something, I don't know, it just feels different to Sydney, I guess. The other thing about Brisbane is because we're on the river, there are multiple sorts of areas that you can kind of view the fireworks and still get a pretty good view. In Sydney, even if you are like slightly angled to the side, the view can be a bit distorted, depending on what you like, of course. But I guess in Brisbane, there are just so many more opportunities to get a good view, even if you're not there super early. In terms of why I haven't actually seen the fireworks, this year I ended up flying to Sydney the day after, so I didn't want to stay out too late. But last year we were actually hoping to see the fireworks in person for the first time, but it was raining pretty badly, so we decided not to go out. We thought that we could watch it on TV, so we turned on the TV, we waited, we thought, oh, maybe we can watch the Sydney ones at 11 because that will be midnight in Sydney because of the daylight saving time difference, and then we can watch the Brisbane ones at midnight. We played games, we watched TV to try to keep ourselves awake, and then it got to 11 and they were just playing random like entertainment. So it was like singers and performers from the Sydney fireworks or Sydney's New Year's celebrations, but no fireworks. So we went away, did our own thing, came back at midnight, and hopefully, like, we were hoping to see the Brisbane fireworks. We turn on the TV and then we see the Harbour Bridge and fireworks coming off it, and then we realise that we're just watching the New Year's Eve fireworks from Sydney one hour later from when they filmed it. So we realised that Brisbane's fireworks aren't actually shown on the TV, and it's kind of ironic because, you know, Sydney's fireworks are so amazing and people like travel from different countries to see it, but it was really, really disappointing actually to be seeing Sydney's fireworks rather than Brisbane's. And I think that's just because I grew up with it and I've seen it so many times, but it's funny how something that's so special to some people we just take for granted, I guess. On that note, I think I finished with this video. I would still really like to see Brisbane's fireworks, and maybe I'll see it next year during New Year's Eve or at Riverfire. If anyone does have any good recommendations for spots to watch it, that would be great, because we did search on Google and like I think Reddit or something like that, and people just said South Bank or the other side of South Bank. So if anyone does have any other options or hidden spots, I'd love to know. Thank you.